We went to the Kamala Harris rally 2 days ago, and from what I could take away from it, there was an insane amount of energy behind Kamala Harris. From what you'll see was only a microcosm of what went on that day. We weren't inside, we weren't able to get inside, but what I can tell you is a massive crowd exited that building once the rally was over. I can genuinely tell you with confidence that people are truly excited to see Kamala Harris take on Donald Trump, and the support is genuinely real. This election is historic. It's a turning point in American history, and I'm happy to say that we interviewed people who were attending this rally. So if you like content like this, if you want to see more content like this, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. I just wanted to know what you guys are excited for in terms of Kamala's presidency. What do you want to see happen? Are there any concerns for November?
Oh yeah, actually I'm really excited about the idea of representation, the idea of youth engagement. I think people are talking about this. This is my first presidential election that I get to vote in and participate in, and so I think it's really exciting to see how she'll listen and respond to the support that she's getting from people my age. So I'm really excited to see how this turns out. I think she's instilling a lot of hope in people who are not only excited for what's to come for our generation, but also becoming involved in government, which is something I'm interested in myself. So overall, really amazing.
Okay, what do you want to see from Kamala Harris, and what are you excited for Kamala Harris?
I would like to see more investment into Black entrepreneurs so that we can close that wealth gap, which she's been doing a tremendous job already.
Okay, and in terms of what she has to offer, like, what do you admire most about Kamala? What do you feel like separate? Of course, Trump is insane, but let's just say he wasn't. What do you feel like? What do you like about her that just separates from him in terms of policy?
She's fearless. She's fearless, and she's not backing down from a fight. Because when we fight, we win.
What about you?
For me, I'm excited for reproductive freedom. I think it's very telling that we're going to have a woman president for the first time in the year that it's on the ballot, and especially in Georgia with the heartbeat bill, that is so important to us as young women. So we're really excited for that.
Are you from the United States? I hear an accent.
I'm from the UK.
You're from the UK? Okay.
So that's why.
Okay. I mean, I still respect the support regardless. So, is there anything like any big reform you want to see? Maybe Supreme Court coming from Kamala or anything like that?
Oh, I'd love to see some more Supreme Court nominations. I'd love to see, some real reform done to our criminal justice system, to mass incarceration, and making changes to how our justice system operates now, because I think there's a lot of work to do.
Okay, so you said you're a Trump supporter. Okay. So why are you a Trump supporter at this stage in the game? Like, isn't it kind of obvious that Trump is crazy?
No.
No. Okay, let me ask you. Do you know about the electors plot on January 6th?
Yeah, I know people that were in prison. I know people who were in prison for January 6th.
Okay, do you know that was an entire plan by Trump and his lawyers to overturn the election illegally?
No, I don't believe that.
You don't believe that? Have you read the indictment?
Yeah, I know. I'm helping somebody that was a J6er with child support because I'm a family court advocate. And, yeah.
Okay, so Donald Trump, alongside his lawyers, tried to overturn the election, and they specifically got his supporters to show up on January 6th because they told him the election was stolen. But his DOJ told him, for a month straight, hey, there's no fraud. They contacted the people in Georgia, the people in Arizona, all these other states, and they were like, look, we haven't found any fraud. I mean, Raffensperger from Georgia was a Republican. He said he didn't find any fraud. With that information, it's kind of scary that a guy wouldn't give up an election and then tries to take it. If you were to read the indictment and you found the evidence in there, which it is, do you think it could possibly change your mind?
That's your opinion of his interpretation. Those are his beliefs. He could say it was stolen. It doesn't necessarily mean fraud. It could mean coercement. It could mean maybe someone died and another person at that residence voted for them. It doesn't necessarily mean the standard definition of what you would call fraud.
Okay, well, he said it was fraud. He said that it was election fraud.
That's his interpretation. Maybe
Right, but all we can go off is Donald Trump's interpretation, right?
Maybe you don't like the words. You don't like the words he chose to use. Everybody's not going to be politically correct or say things the same way you would.
Yeah, but if you're the president, you can't really sit there and just say anything, right? Because January 6th, right? If you convince enough people the election was stolen,
they might raid the Capitol and say, hang Mike Pence, or where's Nancy Pelosi, right? You got to be, would you agree that maybe the president, especially Trump, should probably be a little careful with the things he says in case it might cause violence?
You can't control what other people do. I could tell people that white people are racist all day long. It's not my fault if they go riot in the streets and burn down buildings. That's not my fault.
But don't you think that if you were to say, or if I were to say white people are racist, we wouldn't have as much of a dangerous effect than the president if you were to say all white people are racist, or if he were to say the election was stolen, frankly, we did win. Don't you think there's like kind of like a little bit of an expectation for a president to behave a certain way over a private citizen? No?
No, because people are just upset because he's saying things publicly that really is said privately, and I feel like we should be more grateful and hear the message instead of hearing how it's delivered. We could talk about that privately, but if you want content, you could ask some deeper in-depth questions maybe you never got to ask a black Trump supporter, but we could talk about that privately.
But if Trump knows the election wasn't stolen, and he purposefully tells his supporters it is stolen, at some point you kind of have to realize that Donald Trump is lying to his supporters to convince them to aid and abet him in criminal activity. So if he knows the election isn't stolen, that everybody of authority, legal authority, who has actually went to recount the votes are telling him it wasn't stolen, and he still tells his supporters anyway, at some point one has to ask the president to conduct himself in a certain way, to tell the truth, to not lie to his supporters.
I'm black. People will steal your money and help you look for it. So I can't trust authority to tell me if there was really a crime or not, because they might be committing crimes by lying themselves. All I'm saying is elections can be stolen because you don't even need an ID to go vote. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's so many cracks in the system that elections can be stolen. That's his opinion of what happened.
Well, the only problem is Donald Trump looked for fraud twice, back in 2016 and in 2020, and he didn't find any. So my question for you would be, if Donald Trump can't find fraud, people that have no reason to turn on him are telling him there's no fraud, Donald Trump knew there was no fraud, at some point it begs the question, is there anything that could change your mind on whether the election was stolen?
No, because even if people are legally submitting ballots, or it appears to be legal, that doesn't mean there was no fraud.
What are you looking forward to?
What is there not to be excited about? Someone who, well, I'm not a lot of people. I'm a Howard woman. I'm an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman made at Howard. So this reflects things I've looked up to since inception. Okay. And I think it's evident that she's qualified. Not only that, most people would have been satisfied with prosecutor, district attorney, attorney general, senator, vice president. She was not. She always saw herself as president. I was on the road with her when she ran the first time, and I'm honored to be here for the second time.
What exactly do you want to see from Kamala when she wins? Because I want to see more aggression toward Republicans in the House and the Senate and the Supreme Court. What do you want to see in specifics outside of that, or maybe in conjunction to that?
Well, as an elected official in the House of Representatives, that is contentious. A lot of times people want to see more aggression, but aggression is not always what breeds progress. You have to possess the ability to negotiate with the other party. You have to possess the ability to convene with people that don't think like you. If all we want is performative acts, we'll never have any progress.
When you have a Congress that's backing an insurrectionist like Donald Trump and refuses to even surrender any sort of truth about his insurrection and is probably planning another one could argue that aggression might be what it takes to take back our country on some level. Is there any...
Not as a black woman. It is a delicate art and science to be strong yet soft, brilliant yet malleable. A black woman cannot lead from a place of aggression. It will topple the entire empire. So that is not the approach that a black woman can take in leadership. A black woman has to lead from a space of calm and resolve, certainty and intellect, period. And so there are spaces for people to operate that way, but I would not wish that on her, and she's too smart to do that anyway.
Okay, so you feel like a route of cooperation, or at least soft, subtle, and tactical approach is what's best?
Softness I use in terms of her mastery of her softness as a woman, yet her strength as a leader.
Correct.
I'm not using soft in reference to her approach.
Right.
Okay, and as a woman, that is a lens that only you can see through, because you can't be. We're always told what we can't be. Don't be too strong. Don't be too loud. Don't talk too much. A black woman, let's call it what it is. We don't have to say woman of color. It's a black woman from Oakland, California, that went to Howard University, that plays Alpha chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha, and that is now running for president of the United States. So we can call that what it is. Our duty is to be aggressive on her behalf. Our duty is to protect her and to defend her name and her honor. Her duty is to lead.
All right. So are you going to be voting for Kamala Harris, or?
I haven't determined that yet. I mean, it's likely, but I'm really more concerned about Palestine and ending U.S. aid to Israel.
Yeah, I mean, they need to end all U.S. aid to Israel. The Israeli government had to go arrest a member of the Israeli military who was caught on video assaulting Palestinian detainees in a prison.
What's a realistic policy for Palestine from the Biden administration, which is obviously going to be translating into the Kamala Harris administration? What do you want to see them do? Obviously, we know Trump is going to be extremely sympathetic toward Israel. What do you want to see them do?
And U.S. aid to Israel. I mean, we send Israel $3 billion a year coming out of U.S. taxpayer money. I mean, I could laundry list numerous things that money could go to here domestically. Better education. We always say money for jobs and education, not for war and occupation. I think that applies clearly in this situation. I think, ending U.S. aid to Israel. And frankly, I think, the way that this is solved is a one-state solution, right? Where right now there's an apartheid state in Israel where Palestinians are treated as second-class citizens. And if Israel is the democracy of the Middle East that it claims to be, then every single person should be, given the same democratic rights as everybody else. It's a lot of people make comparisons to South African apartheid, and I think that those are valid comparisons.
Okay. If a one-state solution doesn't look like a reality that the Kamala Harris administration can actually bring about, is there any sort of compromise or any sort of kind of cynical acceptance that you could see yourself having in terms of the conflict, where it's not exactly what you wanted, but something in the middle that you think is satisfactory?
I think any sort of compromise just perpetuates an apartheid state. I understand it's an uphill battle, but I think the only solution is a one-state solution.
A lot of people feel like if we leave behind Israel, Iran, Russia, China, these people want that to happen. They want to see us compromise on this. They want to see us turn our back on Israel. Do you have any sort of geopolitical concerns about what would happen if we were to leave behind Israel and turn on them? Is there any sort of any concerns about that?
Yeah, I think the fall of Israel would actually be a huge geopolitical improvement for the Middle East. Our government fearmongers about the fall of Israel because we use Israel as a military outpost in the Middle East. We use Israel to do airstrikes on South Lebanon. We use Israel to do airstrikes on oil fields in Syria, right? So when we talk about the safety of the region, safety for who? Safety for U.S. interests, or safety for the people that actually live there? Safety for the people whose land that is, whose lives are affected by, the actions of our government and its imperialist allies.
So some people are concerned about the fact that after October 7th, there was a whole bunch of attacks on U.S. troops in Iraq. There was a blocking of the Red Sea by the Houthis. We lost 2 Navy SEALs trying to stop them from taking over, cargo ships. For people who are more concerned about American foreign policy and our geopolitical interests, what would your argument be to them who are more concerned about America's concerns, America's interests, the interests of our allies, the interests of the nations in the region? What would you say to them to compel them more to your side?
If they don't want to see those troops die, if they don't want to see U.S. bases get struck, then I think they should leave. I think they should take the very clear message they've been receiving from the Palestinian resistance, the Yemeni resistance, the Iraqi resistance, the Lebanese resistance. And, I'm saying the names of these countries' resistance because those are the people that actually live there. And we talk about the American military. Over there is not America. So, why do we expect U.S. troops to be safe while they're there? That's not our country. They're occupying other people's countries. They don't deserve safety while they're doing that. They should be listening to the messages they're getting.
Know what it is you're looking for from Kamala? How excited are you? Are there any concerns you really want to see her push on when she wins?
So I'm super excited for Kamala. I think that the energy, especially that my generation, Gen Z, has behind her is incredible. First of all, let's talk about the Kamala is brat phenomenon and just how incredible this all is. One thing that I'm super excited about is reproductive rights and Kamala fighting for a women's choice because we trust women, and Kamala said that many, many times. And honestly, I'm not worried about anything. I think with Megan Thee Stallion, Charlie XCX, Gen Z, we're ready to vote, and I'm super excited. All we got to do is show up to the polls, so that's it for me.
Is there anything you want to see from Joe Biden before he goes out that can secure our democracy?
That's a tough one. I feel like now more than ever, we're all afraid of political violence, and I think the last insurrection is going to be very telling for what happens next year. But no one should be immune from anything. No one is above the law, and we believe that the president should also be accountable for their actions.
As long as the president is stern on what he believes, on making sure that everybody in our country is aware that it is not okay to incite violence in any way, and Donald Trump is not exempt from that ruling, not exempt from that rule, and general human decency in that regard.
So I'm just curious as to what you're interested in for Kamala. What do you expect? What do you want to see? What are your hopes for Kamala?
I'm looking forward to just change. She stands for freedom, and that's just my biggest concern right now, overall. I gotta say more?
I mean, I'm assuming like reproductive freedom, is that like one of the biggest things you're concerned about?
It's not the biggest thing I'm concerned about, but as a woman, yes, it is the biggest thing I'm concerned about. I have a lot of other concerns just from being an entrepreneur, being a black woman in this country. I'm concerned about the elders in my family, the middle class in which I'm trying to get into. So yeah, she just stands for freedom, and I feel safe voting for her.
Just wanted to know, what do you guys want to see Kamala Harris get done? What are you concerned about in November? How excited are you? What are you looking forward to?
We're very excited. I think Kamala is going to be a wave to the future. I think Joe Biden, he did understand the assignment to pass the torch. You know, we need some new blood in there. I talk to my daughter all the time about the new generation coming up. You know, they need to pass the torch on out, and I want to see her make some reform, Supreme Court justice reform, immunity, police reform immunity, because the way they treat our African American brothers and the law, the justice system, you have two, one for them and one for us. So I hope that she can get with Congress, because you know you have a House and a Senate that she has to collaborate with to get her agenda done. And so if we don't have one without the other, then we might not get too much done. But hopefully we can regain the seats in the Senate and the House, and then she can come together and we can pass some laws that will be collaborative for everybody in the United States, not just for black, not just for white, but we want to be united, you know. And I think that she will do a good job. And like I tell everybody, if she doesn't, give her a chance. Let's go out and vote. I'm very excited. I'm hyped up about it. Give her a chance. And if she does, then we can vote her out in the next election if she doesn't do what you want.
Just the excitement about the fact that she, has a jurisprudence degree, a lot of the negligence or the lack of education from African Americans or minorities about what the laws are. If you're born here, you have an inalienable right, and I think people need to know that. The way that we interact with law enforcement, i.e. the Sonia Massey incident that just happened in Illinois, is a clear indication that we need to understand what civil rights are, what our laws are, and how we can enact them and how we can use them against the system to do what we need to do and get done what we need accomplished. So that's it.
Okay, are there any concerns that you have in November about the election, about Trump or anything like that? Is there anything that you... No, not at all?
We're from Atlanta.
Y'all are ready for whatever? Okay.
We know that you cannot trust them, so you'll have to be on your P's and Q's. This election is going to be very close, and there are going to be things that are not going to be done correctly, and we know that people will tell lies and make up stories, and so we just need to watch out for that.
But in the spirit of what happened last election, they try to pull a fast one, but Fulton County is steadfast, and we're going to always be steadfast. Atlanta is one to be reckoned with. We always have been. We've always been the leader of change, and we're going to continue to do that. And we're changing the needle every day. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. I really appreciate both of y'all's input.